Hi, I'm Ksenia and welcome to this week's weekly astrology weather report. So good to be with you, so good to have you on my channel. Thanks for joining me. I'd like to welcome all the newcomers who are new subscribers here. This is a friendly, warm environment where you can leave comments, ask questions, and where we can support one another to learn astrology and grow our lives through the knowledge of this wonderful resource. And to everyone who regularly tunes in, thank you once again for supporting my work and for being here. Wow, we have a monster week ahead astrologically in the skies. There are at least 5 special energies playing out that are going to hit us one by one. So we kind of caught our breath a little last week. It was like, and off we go again, running away with all the energies that are unfolding. So get ready. Just to list what's coming up for us so you can jot them down. You might like to take some notes if you really want to. Although if you do follow my Facebook and Instagram pages, I will put up a little blurb on each of these energies on the day that they arrive. So check that out if you want to be reminded on the day of what's unfolding astrologically in the sky. But we have Mercury trining Neptune on July the 31st. We have Mercury opposite Pluto on August the 1st. We have Uranus square the Sun on August the 2nd. We have Mercury opposite Saturn on August the 4th and Jupiter square Mars also on August the 4th. So I'm exhausted just thinking about all this. I hope we're all ready for a big week. Anyhow, because it's a big week, we're going to have a big astro weather report. So let's whiz through all of these energies and what they're going to mean for us so that we know what to expect and we can roll with the punches, so to speak. So first of all, we have a Mercury making a trine to Neptune. So here is Neptune in Pisces and the trine, whoa, bad drawing there on my behalf. The trine comes across to Mercury there. In Cancer, water sign to water sign, but they're at the exact same degree on July the 31st. So this is actually one of the more beneficial energies that we'll be experiencing and that we can look forward to. We might find that we are in a mood for daydreaming a lot more. Mercury is our thinking processes. Neptune is to be in the ethereal realms, often with the fairies, in the land of romance, up in our heads. Quite wonderful. So dreaming, fantasies, visualizations, they're all heightened under this energy. So it's a really good day, the 31st of August, to actually invest in this and make the most of this energy. Work with this energy that the planets are giving us. Take the time out to maybe go for a walk, sit by some water. This is happening in water signs. Neptune's a very watery, in essence, planet. And so go sit by some water, maybe get a takeaway cup of tea or coffee or something, and sit there and visualize and dream. What do you want your life to look like? We underrate the power of our imaginations, the power of planting a seed out in the ether, and just how effective that can be for uplifting our spirits, but also giving us a goal, giving us a trajectory in life. It is so powerful and important to dream, to daydream, to visualize, to fantasize. And it comes back to the old Hermetic principle of as within, so without. If I shift my energy within, then I start to see external changes happening in the world around me that bring blessing and manifestation into my life. And it is a kind of aligns a little bit with the law of attraction, which is to get your vibration at a certain level first, and then you'll see the manifestation of what you want. So visualization is a fabulous technique for doing that. For putting out there into the universe, planting a seed in our heart, in our mind, in our energy about what we want for life. I was told off, I'm very Piscean, I was told off so many times at school for staring out the window and being off in la la land. And so we're told often in society, particularly Western societies, that this is not good to be off with the fairies and daydreaming and sort of romanticizing things. But under this energy, we're all going to feel this strongly. And I actually am a big believer that this is actually a superpower that we can use. And we've been taught to use our logical minds instead of not trusting our gut, but tapping into our own visualization superpowers. And so, I'm relearning this after having had it brainwashed out of me in my youth, that being romantic and being a dreamer and having sort of, daydreams and stuff was not not going to get me anywhere in life. And I've realized may not actually be the case. I might get further on my dreams and fantasies and visualizations than I might by striving and climbing and clawing my way up the ladder in the real world. So that said, this is a great energy to utilize visualizations. You might like to create a vision board if you're into very, actual pictorial imagery. We are a very visually based society that help you to dream. Cut out some pictures from a magazine, create a Pinterest board, stick it somewhere where, stick your pictures on the fridge or somewhere where you can see them regularly, and inspire your visions, your dreams. But start it under this energy, and it's really going to be powerful and supportive. Not only that, our communications, Mercury rules communications. Our communications are going to be softer, more tender, more gentle under this energy. So if you need to apologize to someone, or if you need to reconnect, it's a great day to do that. Reconnect with someone that you've been a bit iffy with. This energy can sort of pull things together a little. Neptune is very forgiving, very compassionate. So it's a great day to use communications in that manner, for forgiveness, for showing compassion and kindness, for showing unconditional love in your communication. So things can be a bit softer now with our communications under this energy. In fact, communications can happen without words. Neptune is one of the strongest planets for intuition and receiving sort of downloads from the divine. And Mercury is, to communicate. So you may very well find that you're able to communicate with people in an unspoken manner, maybe through a wink, or maybe through a cheeky smile, or some sort of gesture or hand movement, or even just body language is your communication tool. Words aren't even needed because of this highly intuitive energy that is playing out between these two. So it'd be quite interesting in that. Even telepathy, it's going to be a day where, you might be sitting at home doing your thing. Well, I'm never sitting at home usually unless I'm doing a reading. You might be cleaning the house, or you might be working in the garden, doing whatever you do around the home. And suddenly thought comes to you, I wonder how my best friend is doing. I'll go give them a ring and just see how they're getting on. I really feel that I need to, touch base. And you go to your phone and there's a text message from your best friend saying, hey, I was really thinking of you, and I just missing you and wanting to. That's the kind of thing that happens, under this energy. We have this telepathy that is synchronistic, communicatively under this energy. So it could be quite fun and interesting. Okay, psychic attunement. Psychic attunement is going to be very much on the up with this, and what the illustration I've just given is a perfect example of that sort of thing. You'll just tap in, you'll just know. It'll be just like two minds connecting, bing. So if you are an intuitive reader, or an intuitive astrologer, or a psychic reader, I know a lot of people in those fields watch this video, it's going to be very powerful for you on this day. And if you're looking for a psychic reading, if you're looking for some sort of intuitive guidance, this is a great day for doing that. Just on that, I am expanding my offering on my website. And I've always had a dream of offering wellness options for people. And by wellness, I mean the whole gamut of alternative healing practices, such as astrology, such as shamanism, such as tarot card reading, such as past life regression work. And so I'm expanding what I offer on my website. And I'm collaborating with some really, truly powerful healers to offer these services for people who are struggling, looking for answers, trying to upgrade their vibration and improve their life and give themselves some hope for the future. So if you are looking for an intuitive reading on this day, or to do any type of sort of or communicate with a healer, check out my website under the wellness page, and you will find some great links to some beautiful healers. I will be doing interviews in the future with these beautiful people who are collaborating with me to create my dream after 10 years of longing for it to happen. It's really coming true, and I'm so excited. So I'll be doing some interviews in the future with those people, but do check them out if you're looking for some intuitive guidance on this day. Couldn't get a better day to tap into that. Now, this is the energy of Pisces. Neptune meets Cancer. Mercury it is a great day for fantasy. It is a great day for romance novels. I'm going and watching Lord of the Rings on Netflix. Get into the fantasy, get into the romance, get into the escapism, the costume design, the mask wearing, the illusionary stories that create a false reality. Like, enjoy it. Today is the day for all of those things. It's a very fun pastime to be able to tap into some fantasy, some daydreams in the tangible sense, such as films or novels, or even some sort of, storytelling of some sort. So enjoy one of the best energies for the week. Thank goodness there's at least one, because then we're going to have Mercury making an opposition to Pluto. So here's Pluto up here in sort of the early 20 degree area of I think it's 23 degrees of Capricorn, and of course Mercury will then be hitting 23 degrees, I'm pretty sure it's still at 23 degrees, on the 1st of August in Cancer, sitting exactly opposite Pluto. So the energies shift a little from this nice trine on this day. We go into a bit of a mental battlefield under this energy. Not that Pluto is to fight. That's a very Mars type energy. It is to fight. But it's more that we're battling with our mind and our thoughts that can be very obsessive, very jealous, very paranoid, because Mercury is the way we think and our thinking processes, and Pluto represents all these things: being jealous, feeling obsessive, being paranoid that something's going to go wrong, some boogeyman's going to jump out from around the corner, and just being in that mental state of anxiety and amplification of these kind of what we try and keep low-lying energies most of the time. But it will be stressed under this particular configuration. We will have sort of pinpointed obsessive fears that come up in our lives right now. We have it might be something that you thought nothing of last week, and then under this energy this week, it's suddenly like, it's the end of the world, There will be, as I said, pinpointed obsessive fears and pinpointed obsessive focus on something, like the obsession is what we're talking about here. Now, on the plus side, this can be very good if you're involved in research or trying to get to the bottom of something and understand something at its core, at its depth. You'll be so intricately focused on the details, on getting to the bottom of something through your mental processes, that this influence can be very beneficial for you. But it sucks when you're dealing with problems, when you're dealing with upheavals. So, maybe under last week's Mars square Mercury, you had a big Barney with your girlfriend, and you're trying to get to the bottom of what's this all about? What's the real core of the issue here? What's the problem here that's really exacerbating things? And you're trying to get to the bottom of things, but you'll be so intense, so obsessive over it. Imagine, you have this bust up with your partner, and you just spend this day going into that zone of, I wonder what I said wrong, and rehashing over and over, spinning your wheels about what happened, what did we actually say to each other, was it really that dramatic, oh my God, they said this to me, far out. And you'll be spinning your wheels, pinpointed, obsessive focus over some issue, some problem, some concern that is just energy zapping. You'll feel depleted, you'll feel burnt out because of this mental spinning wheel process. Now, when we push things out to the bigger collective level, and remember, Jupiter is not far from this, so Jupiter is expanding a lot of this energy and making it even stronger, even more powerful. And on the collective level, not the personal astrological level, but the collective level, we might be seeing mind control in our governments, Capricorn, actions that try to manipulate the masses. Under this energy, we might be seeing conspiracy theories come out again. I'm quite interested in conspiracy theories. I want to know everybody's perspective. I want to understand, well, what's this option? What's that option? Tell me it all. I'll listen with an open mind. But we're going to see some conspiracy theories come out on this day, probably regarding all the upheavals we've been seeing in the world this year in 2020. We also can see, because Pluto is the energy of keeping secrets, we can see some covering up, some lying, covering up secrets with lying under this energy. So, don't believe everything you hear on this day. Don't believe what all the politicians and the leaders and the head of the corporations are telling you. Take everything with a grain of salt, because like I said, there's some mind games going on. So there might even be some threats, some actual verbal, Mercury is to speak, verbal threats that come out collectively on this day, covering up of secrets and lies, all that sort of thing. So not going to be an easy day, personally or collectively, when we have this. There'll be a lot of strong and very, very forceful opinions out there in the world that we're going to have to negotiate. Maybe the strong opinions might be our own, and we'll be feeling very passionate, because Pluto is passion. So passionate about something that we just want to blurt out what we think. Screw you, stuff that. Expletive. We will be really passionate and have a very strong opinion that might come out in ways that aren't very helpful for society. I mean, just stay off Facebook on this day, for God's sake, We're going to see it all played out on social media, because Mercury rules social media, so we'll see it there. But even in your own personal life as well, people might have some very strong, forceful opinions that really grate, that really rub you the wrong way, that are very abrasive under this energy. What is good about this transit? Well, as I said, it's good if you have some deep research to do. You can utilize that to your advantage. But what is good, and there is good in it, there's shadow and light in every single component of the horoscope. We've just got to dig for it sometimes. But we can use our analytical mind, our Mercury logic, to look deep into our psyche on this day. So I would suggest doing some sort of therapeutic practices. Pluto is therapy and healing at a deep inner core level, and Mercury is to write, to speak, to communicate. I would do on this day some journaling. I would do, if you've got a very trustworthy close friend who's just your solid rock, maybe connect with them and speak, blurt it all out, share what's going on, let them blurt to you, and just sort of arms around each other, therapy. So anything that has to do with writing and speaking and communicating that is of a therapeutic nature, I would highly recommend under this energy, as it will help a lot. Because what we're doing is using our analytical mind to look into our psyche. When we journal, we're like, what do I really think? What do I really feel? What is love? What is, I'm getting all philosophical there. What's the purpose of life? We can look into, well, what is my purpose? What is love to me? And we start looking deep at who we are, what we think, and how we tick. And that creates a lot of light and a lot of space, because keep in mind, Pluto is the energy of death and rebirth. So in this process, we're going to be dealing with some pretty shitty energy, but through it, we can be rebirthed. And the way we do that, as I've just said, is to do some deep analysis of who we are. And then we come out the other side, like into the springtime, as Mercury continues on to separate from this energy. So make the most of this energy, even though it's difficult, even though it's challenging, it can be for your greater good. Now, Uranus is going to be making a square to the Sun. This is the next energy, and I'm going to turn around so I can write this properly without wobbling all over the place. Whoop. And so we've got Uranus making a square to the Sun. So this is occurring on August the 2nd, and Uranus brings change, and the Sun is very, very influential. Now, often I find a lot of astrological reports can tend to overlook the Sun. In fact, I'm guilty of doing that myself. I'm so focused on, what's Pluto doing, and what's Saturn, and, looking at all the biggies that give the hard hit, and we forget we're all circling around the Sun. It is central. It is so pivotal to us all. No Sun, no life on Earth, no planets, no nothing. So it is just so important. And I forget it so often. But when the Sun is getting an activation from a big power player like Uranus, in ancient astrology, Uranus was the sky god. And I actually love being out under a big open sky, seeing from horizon to horizon. It's like, I'm very Uranian. So that energy is like big, powerful God that is Uranus, very influential over life on Earth and governs, this is a whole other topic, but Uranus governs the lifespan of human beings at this point in time. He may not forever, but he does at this point in time. So these two power players making a square aspect, they do it every year. Actually, they do it twice a year. It's an important day, and we're going to feel uneasy. Because a square aspect is a tension, a square aspect is challenging and obstacles. And so we're going to feel like there is an uneasiness, something's brewing here, something's in the wind. August the 2nd. The sun is ego. And we might be our ego might be being stirred up. Like we feel like there's change on the horizon, but it's not here yet. Ooh, what's coming, And these strong egos under this energy of Uranus is very much like electricity, a bit impulsive, a bit, flick the switch on, flick the switch off, flick, 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 flick. And under this sort of energy, the ego of the sun can just burst out. And then you're like, oh shit, shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have done that. My ego got in the way. But we can just have this flick of a switch and then it's gone. Our ego behavior, our egoic behavior out there. And we can sort of burst out with our egoic attitudes, our egoic behaviors, our egoic sentences, that aren't much help. Now, this can happen within us. We can be the ones bursting out, or we might see a lot of egoic behavior in the people around us, in their behavior towards us. Or, we observe it down the street and someone, you might be lined up at the supermarket checkout and someone's behaving really egoically and pushing in and well, I should be first because I've been here longer than you and I need that toilet paper and all that rubbish. So we're in lockdown in the state where I live. I'm not in lockdown where I'm living, but my state is in lockdown, and we've got toilet paper again. Toilet paper issues, go figure. People are crazy. But yeah, so egoic behavior is going to be very observable under this energy. So as I said, your ego, the egos of others might be sort of head-butting now and, coming up against a bit of struggle. That is what we can mainly watch out for on this day. But just know you are going to be feeling within you this uneasiness, like there is something brewing, something coming, something's got to give. And if you know what that feeling feels like, I think we all do, then you'll know that we're a bit tense with that. We're a bit switched on. We're a bit sort of electrically reactive, as is the nature of Uranus. So we want to be liberated from something. We want to be set free from something. And we're going to be so attuned to, what's going on? And if something happens, boom, we just burst out. So as I've illustrated, I'm kind of repeating the point here. That's what we can watch out for on this day. But as I've just said, Uranus is liberation. Uranus is breaking free, bursting out, sort of leaving the shackles behind you of restriction and blockage and being held back. So in that sense, this is a day when it's really good to look at, what do I want to break free from? What is in my life that feels like a weight, that feels like a burden? Where do I want to be liberated? Take a look at your life and assess that. I'm really all for this psychological assessment this week, because if we want to make the most of these 5 energies, we need to do some serious introspection. What habits aren't serving you? What addictions aren't serving you under this energy? This is a time to sort of put the effort in, through effort, through sort of really going head to head with your addiction, really going head to head with your habit, you can break free under this energy. We need to push through our own self-sabotaging behaviors. We need to push through our limitations on this day. It's not going to come easy, but the energy is there that you can utilize to break free from anything that's holding you back. What we do need to do under this energy is keep free, keep flexible, keep flowing with whatever the universe brings into our life. So look for opportunities to take, make the most of anything that comes your way. Don't be too stuck in old habits. Don't be too stuck in, my way or the highway. Keep your energy flowing. Keep your energy flowing so that you can be receptive to whatever it is that the universe wants to bring about with this. And the universe is loving, and it doesn't wish for you to be broken by suffering. It wants you to grab the highest level of this energy and make the best of it. And so, keep flexible, keep flowing, look for the changes that may shift you into some new state of being. And it's not going to come with a walk in the park. It's going to come with lessons, as all challenges, as all obstacles bring. It's going to come with lessons that must be pushed through, worked through to come out the other side into a greater state of liberation and freedom as the sun continues to move on around the chart and sort of separates from this aspect to Uranus in Taurus. And when a planet is separating, it's a much more easy breathable energy than it is when a planet is what we call applying to a certain aspect or planetary degree or something. So in that sense, after this is over and you've pushed through, broken some habits, broken some addictions, okay, moving right along. Next time we have a square from Sun to Uranus, that'll be something else to push through, break through. And we are on this continual cycle of pushing through, breaking through, and up leveling with this energy as it continues to play out annually. Okay, then we're going to have an opposition from Mercury to Saturn, who is in the final degrees of Capricorn there. That's happening on August the 4th. Oh dear. Okay, hang on to your hats. Here we go with another interesting little configuration. By then, sorry, I've got that not very helpfully placed at the center of Cancer. Mercury will be up here. So scooch that over. Okay, so this is when Saturn and Mercury's energies combine. And as with any opposition, it's about integrating the two. The energy of Saturn, the energy of Mercury, to come together and mix them up in the cauldron together so that their energy is hopefully either useful for you and empowering for you, or if we're at the lower vibrational level, we suffer under this energy. So we're going to explore both of these. This is a time under this energy on the 4th of August when we can feel very mentally heavy. Saturn is heaviness. Saturn is weighty. Saturn is depression. It can be worry. It can be fears, Saturn, in the mental realm. Mercury is mental. Saturn represents those things. They go to the mental realm and we can feel very down, very, like we can't move one foot in front of the other and that life's a vale of tears. That is a possibility under this energy. Very pessimistic, very low. We can have blockages. Saturn is blockages and trouble expressing our thoughts, expressing what we're thinking about. The words just don't come out. I'm not going to record my videos on that day, or I might find that I'm blah, 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 stumbling over my words the whole reading. So our words and our mental processes, they feel blocked, they feel heavy, they feel lethargic, they feel ineffectual. Like there's a blockage there on this day. So do be careful of that, especially if you've got a speech to make or you need to sort of do some serious, important communicating of any kind. Make sure you're well prepared. Don't be too lazy about it. Have the script written down. It's not a script, it's just some dot points. Have the script written down so that you are safe if your mind starts to clunk and the cogs don't work, so word of advice there if that's on the cards for you. Now, another way this can manifest is Mercury is the ancient messenger of the gods, and he may have a message for the world on this day. That's some pretty heavy news, some pretty difficult news, some pretty pardon my language, news. So difficult news. Now that might be for the collective, but it could also be very personal as well. It depends on in what areas of the chart this is falling for you and if it's triggering anything of great importance for you. But generally we can all feel like, this is sort of a heavy day and the news might not be that good personally and collectively. Something might crop up. We can consider it, in fact, a bit like Mercury retrograde. It's not Mercury retrograde, but Saturn making an opposition to Mercury kind of behaves a bit like a Mercury retrograde period. Don't sign any contracts. under this energy. Don't purchase any new technology. Don't go buy a new smartphone. Don't go buy a new iPad or whatever under this energy. It's just not a good energy for something substantial like that. Postpone any important decisions that you need to make until after this energy plays out. So, this is happening on the 4th of August. I'd give it till maybe the 6th, 7th, then you're golden, you're fine. But consider this a bit like a Mercury retrograde just for a day. So the final energy that we're dealing with in this week of amazing astro weather is the energy of Jupiter making making a square aspect to Mars down here in Aries. Now, Jupiter aspects, even in a square, even in opposition, they're not as, oh my God, heaven help me kind of thing, as say a Saturn or a Pluto square or opposition or something. All Jupiter aspects can bring actually benefit. Even the squares and even the oppositions, they can bring benefit. It all depends on how we work with the energy and how we're making the most of it. But Jupiter's even detrimental energies, they're not as bad as, say, one of the other more malefic type planets in their aspects. But this is the energy, Jupiter and Mars are friends anyway in astrology. So even their square aspects are not that heavy duty. But we will notice the energy just the same. Okay, so it's an energy of Mars is risk-taking and Jupiter is success. You might need to take a risk to succeed under this energy on the 4th of August. Maybe, you got the opportunity to go in and speak to your boss about getting a promotion. Or maybe you've been working from home in some way, and you have the chance to say, look, approach your employers or people above you, managers, and say, oh, look, I really want to work from home permanently. I want this to be how my lifestyle is. So what about it? Take a risk under this energy. If you want to succeed, you'll need to sort of put yourself out there, put yourself on the line a bit with Mars squaring Jupiter. Now, there's no guarantees that you're going to get the chance to work from home if you take that risk and have a crack and ask your employers, but you're not going to lose your job over it. It's not going to be so disastrous, like, oh, I wish I'd never done that. So taking a risk can pay off. And if it doesn't, it's not going to matter so much under this energy. But it's worth a try, definitely worth a try. So it's actually, it can function like a positive energy. But we can also be a little tactless and impulsive under this Mars energy. It's just the nature of Mars to sort of be a bit sort of gung-ho. Let's just do it. Let's just get on with it, and just put themselves out there without thinking. And so Jupiter making that square aspect can, make you a little bit more. Jupiter will expand that Mars energy of tactlessness, impulsiveness, and sort of just jumping in where angels fear to tread kind of thing. We become more enthusiastic. Jupiter will expand that energy of Mars. Mars is very enthusiastic and energetic and excitable, and Jupiter will expand that energy of Mars under this influence. But with Jupiter hard aspects, the one thing we have to be careful of is taking things too far, going over the top. So under this energy, our excitement can be so that we're just like ticking everybody off around us. Well, you just settle down, It's just going over to the nth degree, overextending ourselves as well. Taking things, like I said, taking things too far, being too big, too excitable, too enthusiastic, and it drives everyone crazy. But we'll all be being affected by this. So, you might be driving everyone crazy with your enthusiasm. You might find they're just as enthusiastic as you are. Bonus. So that's what we're looking at under this energy of Jupiter square to Mars. So let's whiz around the horoscope now and see what's unfolding for each individual sign. And you can utilize your sun sign, your rising sign, your moon sign. They're all applicable, and certainly when I listen to astrological reports, I listen to all three. But or if you have a stellium, I might add as well. If you've got a stellium of 4 or more planets in a single sign, then you can definitely listen to that one as well. But really, it's the rising sign that is the most important. because according to the ancients, this was the most important component of the horoscope, and we need to consider it with great weightiness and consider it first. So let's start with, who shall we start with? Who's the lucky spin of the Astro Wheel? How about we start with Libra today? Okay, lucky Libras going first for a change. So if you're Libra, Sun, Moon or Rising, we're going to start with you. And this is we're going to focus on the influences being played out with Mercury this week and how they're affecting you. Because as we've already seen, there are a lot of aspects being made to little old Mercury that are affecting us. And so for you guys, Mercury is falling in the 10th house. Now, in the beginning of the week, this is where you might be having a lot of daydreams, a lot of fantasies. Oh, what if I was, head of the company? Or what if I did this for my worldly achievement? What if I released an album, or I did an exhibition of my artwork or something? And we start to fantasize, we start to daydream about our worldly achievements and our career opportunities that might be available to us. And it's good to fantasize about that under this energy. But we need to be very careful that that's happening for us, just checking my dates, on the 31st of July, that we can fantasize, do that, go there, be in that space of visualizing and dreaming about what you could achieve in the world, what you could be famous for, how you could be recognized and known, and what you want to do to leave a legacy in the world. Go there, enjoy that on the 31st. But by the 1st of August, so not long after, that might turn into obsessiveness. And we might get, because of the opposition being made from Mercury to Pluto, we might start to obsess over my career this, or my worldly aspirations that. It might turn from fantasy into something that's consuming you so much you can't sleep at night, or you just feel really sort of inwardly tense and obsessive and just going to the nth degree. That might be a bit of a struggle for you. Okay, so keep that in mind, that's where the focus is going to be. For Libra rising people, Mercury also happens to rule your 9th house, and it rules your 12th house. So in that sense, those areas of life might be where you're fantasizing and daydreaming about, and then obsessing about as a follow-on as well. So it might be about some new schooling opportunity, some new chance to go and do some piece of higher learning, or do some sort of short trip, because it's Gemini, even though it's in the 9th house, which is long trips. And we can't do many long trips under this energy at the moment. So some sort of traveling that you might be obsessing about. Oh, I just want to be able to go to grandma's for Christmas. She lives in Canada and I'm down in Mexico. Well, how's it going to happen? And la la la. So you might be daydreaming about that, and it might turn into some kind of obsessive, sort of worried thinking, fearful thinking over the course of the day. So that could be, like I said, to do with travel, some sort of higher learning, or trying to find a guru or a mentor to help you and inspire you. And it could be also to do with 12th house things that Mercury rules in your chart, Librans. 12th house things might be, you might be daydreaming about some new creative project, and that could be wonderful. You get an idea for a new film that you want to sort of write, or a film you want to produce or act in or something, or some sort of photographic exercise that you want to do, or maybe you want to make a sort of a series of costuming things, whatever. Very creative, Virgo 12th house. And that then turns into an obsession. Now, sometimes that can be good. Let's call facts. Sometimes obsession is not bad. It's when we're obsessing about a person and we're stalking them or something, that actually turns into But being obsessive about the latest costume design project that we're really interested in, that's not so bad, is it? We're not doing anyone any harm. So you might find that your fantasies turn into obsessions with 12th house things. That could be spiritual things. That could be creative projects that come as inspiration from the divine under this energy. It could also be that, you might be obsessing about, again, running away from it all, having a bit of an escape. I've had enough with the world. How can I just get out of here? How can I just, either go on a holiday, or how can I tap out from regular society because I've just had a gutful of regular society? And you might start to obsess about, some sort of living up in the mountains off-grid and da-da-da. So fantasies can turn into obsessions on this day that can be all-consuming in those areas. So if you happen to be Scorpio rising next, the energy, or sun or moon, the energy of Mercury is falling in your 9th house. And so it's here that you might find yourself, let's put Mercury back. It's here that you might find yourself fantasizing very strongly on the 31st of July. And so the 9th house things are things like maybe being able to travel again. You know, you might be daydreaming about, oh, you know, I just want to go and visit Portugal or wherever. Having these fantasies, daydreams about travel or about learning something new. You know, wouldn't it be great if I went back to university and I got a degree in law, and then I could do this with my life, then I could do that. And you're fantasizing higher learning, travel, or you're fantasizing about, you know, finding a new guru, someone who can teach me in greater depth astrology and all its little intricacies so that, you know, I can do predictions better or something. And you start fantasizing about finding that guru and putting it out there to the universe, praying, oh, I want to find that guru person. Gurus and teachers are seen from the 9th house. So these are the areas you might be fantasizing. But we might find that's on the 31st of July that this then moves into a bit of an obsession that can manifest as Pluto opposes Mercury, and we start to obsess about finding the guru. We start to obsess about doing some travel. We start to obsess about which law degree, and we're sort of doing some research. It can be very beneficial. Just say you want to get a law degree and you start doing the deep inner research. And for you Scorpio people, that comes quite naturally. You start to research, okay, well, where can I go and study law? And you start looking around, you start doing the research in an obsessive fashion. That can actually be very beneficial for you to help find your answers under this opposition. But if you're dealing with any 9th house problems, such as a problem with a guru, a problem with a teacher, and you just had a gutful of them and they're not really your thing anymore, under this energy, you might even see that you sort of break away from your teachers. You might have a very strong, forceful opinion about one of your teachers, or they might have a strong, forceful opinion that they dish out on you, and you're just like, hey, no way. So that Pluto energy can bring some problems with regard to your gurus and teachers as well. So a couple of different ways that this energy might manifest for Scorpio rising people. And of course, Mercury also rules for you guys your 11th house and your 8th house. So you might have some fantasies or daydreams about 8th house things. Oh, I'd love to be a magician. Imagine if I was a, Merlin back in the day, and, I'd wear one of those long flowy robes, and I'd be an alchemist, and you go down the road of fantasizing about 8th house things, wizardry, witchcraft, sorcery, mysticism, paganism, any sort of alternative belief systems are seen from the 8th house. Or you start fantasizing about winning money. This is the house of, windfalls, getting that tax lotto win or getting an inheritance that really sets you up for life. And you go into that fantasy about that. And then remember, that energy can actually turn into a bit of obsessiveness regarding 8th house things that might start to play out for you. You might be just can't stop thinking about winning Tats Lotto, and it's just consuming you, or might be can't stop thinking about grandma's will. I really want that old car she's got in her will, and I wonder if she's left it to me or not, and maybe I should speak to her about it. And you start to just go down the rabbit hole with something to do with 8th house things: wills, legacies, inheritances, mysticisms, alternative belief systems. Even you might start to sort of go down the road of sort of being very obsessive about sort of some criminal activity or criminal behavior. Now, I'm not saying people who watch these videos are criminals. Please don't get me wrong. But this is the house of the mafia and sort of underhanded dealings that are done in secret behind closed doors. So these sorts of things you might start to sort of fantasize about. Oh, what if I tried to bribe XYZ and this person, and then and it becomes an obsession, and maybe it happens, and then so be very, very careful about going down the sort of more low vibrational level of the 8th house and creating bad karma for yourself, essentially. We find that Mercury also rules your 11th house, and 11th house is your goals and dreams and aspirations. Now, you'll probably on the 31st of July be fantasizing about, oh, if I did this and I could accomplish that, and this would be a wonderful project, and then that would lead to this project, and you will be fantasizing and daydreaming about what you can accomplish in the world and how that will go for you and how it might play out. And that's fun, and it's lovely to dream. It's a house of our visions and aspirations. So go there, enjoy the fantasizing under this energy. But just watch out for it becoming obsessive to the point where it actually isn't healthy for you. You know, you're consumed by it, and it becomes in a state of sort of a mental battlefield. Well, maybe I could do this, but no, I should do that. Oh, what am I going to do? Spinning your wheels mentally about how to accomplish this dream, this goal, this vision. Don't let yourself go down that road. Allow it to play out as it needs to play out, and enjoy the fantasy for the fantasy's sake. All right, so moving along to Sagittarius rising people, or sun or moon. We are now looking at Mercury falling in the 8th house here. So it's in this area, 8th house realms for Sagittarius rising people, that you might be having a lot of fantasies now. You know, oh, what if grandma left me that beautiful car in her will? Oh, that would be nice. And then I can just visualize myself driving down the highway, hair blowing in the breeze, and, you know, enjoying that convertible or whatever it happens to be. Like you're fantasizing about receiving something through a will or a legacy or an inheritance of some sort. This is also, the 8th house might be fantasizing about, you know, going to the fantasy realms of, you know, wizardry and being Merlin, or being some sort of a, practicing alchemy, doing some sort of alternative beliefs, using those esoteric practices. What would it be like to be an energy healer? Oh, that would be nice. And then look, then I could do that. You know, I could be that, and I could do it online perhaps, and teach Reiki. And, you know, you go into the fantasy, enjoy what it feels like to fantasize about 8th house things. Other people's money, resources, inheritances, anything of an alternative nature regarding belief systems, and also your intimacy as well. Fantasize about sex. Hey, enjoyable Sagittarius rising people, you know, go there, enjoy that momentum, because your sexual fantasies under this energy can actually bring you a lot of joy, naturally enough, and a lot of pleasure. So allow yourself to indulge in maybe a little sexual fantasy about your partner or something. Who knows, it could play out and become reality, and you'd enjoy that very much. But you want to be careful, because after the 31st of July, this energy on the 1st of August then transforms into sort of the more obsessive type energy that comes when we have Pluto opposition to Mercury, and we can be very sort of pinpointedly focused on something. So these fantasies may actually end up transforming into obsessiveness. If you have a sexual fantasy about somebody, you want to be very careful if you're Sagittarius rising under this energy. If you have a sexual fantasy about someone, it can quickly turn into an obsession with somebody and having intimate connection with somebody. And of course, if it doesn't manifest in reality, that can become very within you, tense and difficult within you. So do be careful about your fantasies moving from the zone of just pure delight and joy into obsession. You know, we're obsessed with grandma's will. What's she leaving me? Is she going to give me that car? Maybe I should ring her up and demand that she gives me that car in her will. And we can go to the nth degree mentally and spin our wheels about some of these issues that aren't really helping us in the long run. We also might find, because for Sagittarius, Mercury rules Gemini, the 7th house, and Virgo, 2 angular houses, the 10th house. So you might be fantasizing about those things, those realms as well, and then find that turns into an obsession for you the day after as well. So what are these realms? Well, the 7th house is our relationships, and that's our business partnerships and our marriages. It's also relationships with our clients. It's about bringing balance and harmony and peace into our life as well. And you might be fantasizing about how you can bring more balance and harmony and peace into your life. You might be fantasizing about something to do with it'd be very nice to be having sexual fantasies about your partner, your marriage partner or something. So you might be having some daydreams, some fantasies about what you could enjoy with your partner, or going on holiday with your partner, or wouldn't it be great if my partner and I did this, and or even fantasizing about how you might be able to conduct your business better through some kind of partnership, oh, who can I collaborate with, and going into daydreams about, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I worked with that person, and you go into fantasies about that. But just watch out for that then becoming an obsession the following day that sort of has you spinning your wheels and going around in your head, so to the point where you can't accomplish anything. You know what that's like, when your mind just keeps churning, and you're obsessed, and you can't focus on anything else. So just be careful of that. Also, because of the link to the 10th house, it might be that you're fantasizing about some sort of collaboration for your career, for creating greater success in your life. You might be fantasizing about some sort of partnership that's going to help you do better in your field of expertise, your field of mastery, as seen from the 10th house as well. And then that can then lead to some sort of obsession about, well, I want my business to look like this, and if they don't come on board, then that's not going to get there. And you're obsessed about connecting with them to help your business success and to help your worldly achievements. And you're just thinking can go down the road of, spinning your wheels, going down the rabbit hole of obsession. So be careful of that on this day. We're moving through this rather slowly because there is so much to cover. And these are only a couple of the energies too that we're looking at. And so forgive me, we're not looking at them all. There's just far too many. But if you are Capricorn rising, sun or moon, of course rising is the most important, then the energy of Mercury is falling in your 7th house. And this is the realm that you're going to be fantasizing in. You might be fantasizing about a partner or about having a relationship with somebody. What if, I've met this beautiful girl at the cafe, and and she served me my coffee and she had such a beautiful smile, maybe that, fantasy, wouldn't it be nice if I asked her out on a date? And you start fantasizing about relationship and connection and partnering and linking in with other people, and that can be beautiful and fun and joyful. What you really need to be careful, Capricorn people, of on this day is that your fantasies on the 31st of July can quickly become obsessions on the 1st of August, as Pluto makes its opposition to Mercury. So you might find that beautiful girl at the cafe, suddenly you can't get her out of your mind. It's all consuming. You feel like almost suffocating because your thoughts won't leave you alone on this day. And, there's a real need to sort of, maybe I should take action. Maybe I should ask her out. What if she said no? And you go into this obsession and spinning your wheels. This is the term for August the 1st, spinning our wheels mentally and not getting anywhere, and obsessing and ruminating and being paranoid about some sort of 7th house matter like a relationship. Now, Mercury also rules your 6th house and it rules your 9th house. So these are realms that might get a bit of a triggering as well. If you're Capricorn rising, you might find that you are spinning your wheels about work, about what you're doing for a living, how you're paying the bills. You might find that you end up obsessing about, some health issue that you've got. So fantasies can turn into problematic obsessions pretty quickly on these 2 days. And it'll be, in this case, to do with your health and well-being, your diet, your exercise routines. You might be getting obsessive about that, and how you're paying the bills and how the money's coming in to help you get through life. So you can become very obsessive. Your fantasy about, if I got this new job, can quickly turn into, oh my God, is it going to pay the bills? And I'm not going to have enough money to meet the rent this week. And going down the rabbit hole of, oh my God. It's also in the 9th house, so fantasies about travel, fantasies about getting some sort of higher learning and expanding the mind in some way, expanding the soul in some way through your intellectual experience. Fantasies in those realms can quickly lead to obsessions in those realms. And this is also the house of gurus. You might have a bit of like argy-bargy with a guru, a strong opinion that your guru or your teacher shares. Suddenly you're like, no way, Jose, F that, and you're out of there, no longer your guru, because of this strong, forceful opinion that can come under the Pluto Mercury opposition. So there might be some strong, forceful opinions that then lead to some disassociation with a guru or a teacher. So fantasy can quickly turn into obsession, paranoia, strong, forceful opinions that cause some things to crumble. Be very, very careful of that regarding the 9th house. Okay, moving along. We're looking now at Aquarius rising people. For you guys, this is falling, the energy of Mercury is falling in your 6th house, and it's in this realm that you might be having a lot of fantasies, maybe if I got this job, or, really, if I went on this diet, then I know I'd lose a few kilos and I'd be looking great, and then all my clothes would fit me, and you start doing that beautiful fantasy about the practical everyday realms of life as seen through the 6th house, diet, exercise, health, your daily routine, even the ways you conserve the word. You might fantasize about starting some charity organization, or going back to nursing school or something. And you start to fantasize about serving, helping, and healing as well, which are 6th house things too. But these fantasies can quickly turn into obsessions from one day to the next, 31st of July to the 1st of August under this energy. And you might find that instead of, just having a bit of a daydream about this new exercise routine, it's going to make you look so beautiful in your new clothes, that suddenly you start to obsess, and you find yourself, in the gym all day for 12 hours, just pumping iron, and because you're obsessed now, fantasy can quickly turn to obsession because of the opposition to Pluto that is playing out on this day as well, and so be careful of that. If we especially for you guys, Aquarius rising people, we can take things too far. We think, oh, I'm going to get fit, I'm going to get healthy, and fantasize about that, dream. Yep, it's going to be great. Jump on our bike, go for a 100k bike ride, come home, and we have a heart attack because, oh my God, it's just too much. The obsession that then plays out can be very detrimental. We need to be very careful of this, Aquarius rising people, because it's happening in the house of our health and well-being. So your fantasies turn into obsessions, and it can really affect your health and well-being. Be very careful. Also, if you're Aquarius rising, Mercury happens to rule Gemini, and it rules Virgo. So it's your 5th house and your 8th house. The 5th house is the house of children. You might have a lot of, happy dreams about your children, and, oh, they're going to be this when they grow up, and, oh, there's so much potential, and so on and so on. And to the point you start to get obsessive. Well, I said I can see you being a drummer in a famous band, a rock band. So, I've enrolled you in this drum course, and you've got this new teacher and tutor for you. And if you do that, and the kid's like, hey, slow down there, mum and dad. You can become a bit obsessive about what your children can accomplish, or so in some way obsessive about something to do with your kids, or obsessive about a lover as well if you're Aquarius rising. Just the fantasy about, oh, maybe if my boyfriend and I, we bought this nice house in the country and life was good, and so on and so on, and that fantasy then turns into obsession with, I must find that place in the country for my lover and I, and or more likely to be about the lover actually in truth, and so you start obsessing about them, and you're calling them every 2 minutes, and it's they're like, hey, just back off, that kind of energy. It's also, as I said, the 8th house. Now, the 8th house is a house of passions, a house of obsessions. So it's really amped up potentially for you guys under this energy to be very obsessive, just full on. So on the 1st of August, do be very, very careful about that, about anything. You can be obsessive, be passionate. And so fantasies about sex, your sexual activity, fantasies about any mystical, spiritual practices that are a bit alternative, a bit left of center, or maybe I'll be a shaman and I'll go study shamanism. That can turn into an obsession. Sexual fantasy can turn into an obsession. Also, it's the house of, it is connected to the divorce, and so is the 6th house. So is the 7th house for that matter too. But there's influences of divorce in these 2 houses. And so, you might start you might be sick of your partner, and you might start fantasizing, oh, look, maybe if I left them, then and that can then become an obsession, all right, I'll speak to a lawyer, and I'm going to, and you can sort of go down a rabbit hole with something. I'm not saying you're going to this isn't an energy for getting divorced, but the 8th house does have those connections, as does the sixth house. So there might be some sort of obsession that's playing out about a circumstance in a divorce, or about getting back at your partner. You're going through a divorce, and how can I get back at her? How can I make them suffer? And the fantasy about, justice and equality playing out for you can turn into an obsession with revenge under this energy, with Mercury ruling both the sixth or in the sixth rather, and ruling the eighth. So do be very, very careful, Aquarius rising people. There's a few ways this can play out, and they're going to be quite challenging, really. Okay, Pisces rising people. Well, for you guys, this energy of Mercury is falling in your fifth house. So this is the realm you might be fantasizing in, about children, lovers, hobbies, and creative expression. You might be sitting on the couch having a cup of tea and dreaming about the next wonderful creative project that you can put together. And of course, we know Pisces people, you'll be dreaming, because you do it so well, and Neptune's in your sign at the moment, so that sort of quality within us is very strong, and you'll be dreaming about some next creative project, or you might be dreaming about, my kids, maybe someday my daughter, she could be a famous singer, I hear her singing around the house, and you start daydreaming about your kids, or you start fantasizing or daydreaming about your lover, and you start thinking, maybe they might propose to me, and then we might get married, and we'll solidify our love, and you start going into this romantic, very Piscean fantasy world about a lover. But then on the day after, on the 1st of August, we have Mercury opposite Pluto. Those fantasies can actually morph into obsessions. And, by this stage, you've got your Pinterest board with all the wedding dresses on it and the rings that they're going to buy you. And, you've worked out how many guests you're going to have at the wedding. And, you've looked up venues and who's available when and where. And this fantasy of daydream has turned into an obsession that's a bit like, hey, just back off, So that's one thing. Or the fantasy about the daughter. Oh, she's going to be a famous singer one day, and you've enrolled her into singing classes and acting classes, and the child's just like, but Mum, I just like to sing. I don't want to be a singer, and your obsession is just going to the nth degree. So fantasies can quickly turn into obsessions under this energy. Now, for Pisces rising people, you also have Gemini ruling your fourth house and your seventh house. Two angular houses is very strong when a single planet rules these two angular houses and is getting activated. So in that sense, you might be fantasizing about moving home, having a new home, living somewhere else, because Gemini is a restless energy, and it's in the fourth house of home, heritage, roots, lineage, family, where you live, your bricks and mortar actual house. So these are the areas that you might be fantasizing about on the 31st of July that become an obsession on the 1st of August. That fantasy about, that house, and you start looking at, home designs and home companies, maybe I'll get this new house. And then by the 1st of August, it's a full-on obsession, and you've printed out reams of paper, of house floor plans, and if we reconfigured this and that and the other, and you really don't even have enough money in the bank to be considering it in the first place. But you're obsessed, about that new home, or redecorating your home, or renovating your home, or living in a new town, or finding a new community, and it turns into obsession that is all-consuming. Fourth house things, also seventh house things. So when I was talking for us guys, I should say, about the obsession with marriage, with a lover, that plays into this seventh house as well, because Mercury is sitting in the fifth house of love and dating and romance. Seventh house is marriage and commitment and long-term partnership. So you might be in the fantasy realm with both, you might be daydreaming about marrying someone. You might be fantasizing about that, and it turns into an obsession. You might be so the seventh house is also business partnerships as well, and connections with clients. And you might be having a fantasy about, look, I'm a massage therapist. What if I collaborated with a Reiki healer and we started a business together? Oh, fantasy, daydream. And then it becomes an obsession, and you're contacting every Reiki healer that you know. Do you want to go in with me? I want to start a new business. And it becomes obsession, and can actually be a bit all-consuming and in that sense. So a couple of ways that could play out, business partnership-wise, personal partnership-wise, might even be obsession or fantasy about sort of a contract or some sort of agreement, or maybe sort of legal proceedings. You're daydreaming about some legal proceedings and then turns into an obsession in some way, which is seen from the 7th house as well. All right, Aries rising people. Whoops, get my arrow straight. Well, you guys, you're in for a treat, aren't you? This last part of the year with Mars retrograding in your sign. We'll be talking about that in a couple of videos' time, so do keep tuning in. We're going to get deep into Mars before the next, hopefully before the next month is out. But for you guys, this energy is falling bang in the 4th house. Mercury in Cancer in the 4th house is going to be fantasizing and daydreaming about 4th house things. You know, your mind on the 31st of July is going to go into sort of, well, what if I renovated my home? And you know what, we really need a new garage. Or maybe I'll paint that wall a different, I could even use some wallpaper. That would be really nice. And you start to fantasize and daydream about something to do with home, heritage, roots, lineage, family, the maternal line. And you go into that zone, you know, fantasizing about catching up with grandma, or fantasizing about maybe taking a visit back to your, the place you grew up, and reconnecting with your community in some way. All of these things are 4th house things. And what begins as a fantasy on the 31st of July can actually morph into an obsession if we're not careful on the 1st of August. So you might be fantasizing about going back home, back to that community that you grew up in, and reconnecting up there. And, we can't travel as much under this energy that we've got, certainly where I live in Australia, but wherever we are in the world, maybe home's, you live in America, home is Greece, and you can't get back home. There's no flights that it will take you there. There goes a car, maybe they're going back home. Anyway, that you're fantasizing about getting back home and reconnecting with home and family and heritage and roots and lineage. And it becomes an obsession, and you're just absolutely spinning your wheels because there's no flights and I can't get back home, and I've just missed my family and I want to be home with mom, and there's no flights, no way to get there, and you're spinning your wheels. Obsession that's not serving you, not helping you under this energy. We also need to watch out if you are a Aries rising person for very strong, forceful opinions coming from your mother or a maternal figure in your life. Someone from the maternal line might have a very strong, forceful opinion, or you might give a strong, forceful opinion to your lineage, your family, your roots, and that might not go down too well under this energy. Now, Mercury also rules Gemini, your 3rd house, and Virgo, your 6th house. So it's these areas as well that you might start out with a beautiful fantasy that could morph into some sort of obsession on these days. And in this case, 3rd house might be a small business that you fantasize about that turns out to become some sort of obsession that you're spinning your wheels over. Or it might be that you have a very, have a desire or a fantasy to reconnect with your sister. You haven't talked to her for years. You ring her up and you're having a chat. The day after you have this fantasy of reconnecting, and lo and behold, it's the day when Mercury is opposite Pluto. What happens? Forceful, strong opinions blow the whole thing apart, and you have a Barney with your sister on the phone. So fantasies about connecting with siblings, or being in networking with other people in some sort of a manner. Fantasies about doing some new hobby or learning some new skill. That's daydreams about that sort of thing, or making money from some of your craftsmanship, or starting a new Etsy site or something. You fantasize about it, and then by the day after, it becomes an obsession. And you've got, maybe you are knitting dog blankets or something to sell on Etsy, and by the day after you started your fantasy, you've got 5 little blankets on the go, and you're knitting, and obsessive. Nothing wrong with that per se either, but the energy can morph into obsession. And as I said, strong opinions might be felt with siblings as well, so do be careful of that. And of course, Mercury also rules your 6th house, so you want to be very careful, Aries rising people, that this energy doesn't turn into obsessions that cause ill health. Now, what I mean by that is this is the house of diet, exercise, daily routine. And so, you might have a fantasy about, if I lost 5 kilos and then I fit it into that dress, then I could wear that to my cousin's wedding. Oh yeah, okay, well, I'll change my diet, I'll change my exercise routine, and then, it'll be lovely and I'll fit into that dress, and you fantasize. And then by the next day, it's become an obsession. And so you spend 12 hours in the gym, or you go for a 100K bike ride, or you don't eat all day because I'm going to fit into that dress. And the obsession can be very detrimental to your health when it's happening to affect the 6th house. So Aries rising people, be very, very careful of letting any fantasies regarding daily work, health, diet, exercise, routines, be very careful about letting those things morph into something that's detrimental and you become obsessive that impacts your health. Be careful. All right. Alrighty. So Taurus rising people. Well, this is putting the energy of Mercury in your 3rd house. So it's in this realm that you might have a lot of fantasies, and you might start out by, on the 31st of July, fantasizing about a brand new business, that idea that comes to you. And it can certainly come to you under this energy. You might get a sudden inspirational, oh my goodness, what if I started my own costume design business? Because 3rd house is making things with your hands, and you decide you're gonna maybe start, let's say a YouTube channel, and you're gonna make all these costumes that are famous out of some movies throughout time. Gone with the Wind, Scarlett O'Hara dress is your first costume idea, and you'll share about how you make it online, and you put it up there and create a YouTube channel as you go through all these famous costumes and show how to make them. Just one idea. I've had that idea before. I just don't have enough time to do everything in my life. Anyway, so you have a fantasy about some sort of business idea or some sort of media thing or social media marketing opportunity that, you could do to enhance your life and enjoy your life. Fabulous. Wonderful. But by the next day, the 1st of August, this fantasy has turned into an obsession. And, you've gone down to the local fabric shop and you've bought them out of this fabric and that fabric and blah, blah, blah. And you've spent all your money. You've got nothing left because you're going to do this amazing project. And the fantasies turn into obsession. You've got fabric piled high all over the house and everyone's going, Mom, what are you doing? This is crazy. Obsession. So be very careful because your fantasies in 3rd house realms can turn into obsession. What are 3rd house realms? Small business ideas. Connection with siblings. So, you might dream about, I should catch up with my brother. I haven't seen him for years. By the next day, you might have an experience of connecting with your brother and it brings about very strong, forceful opinions and you end up going, well, screw you, be careful of that too. Strong opinions can be felt with siblings. So what have we got? Siblings, small business ideas, teaching ideas, hobbies and things, not hobbies, but skills and talents of the hands like costume making or, woodworking or fabric design work and all those sorts of very practical, tangible, kind of do it with your hands activities. Very 3rd house. Not so much the higher mental activity of studying law or something like that. We're talking about practical stuff that you make, that you build, that you cook, that that kind of thing. So these are the realms you might fantasize about and then end up getting quite obsessive over. Be careful of that. Now, Mercury for Taurus rising people also rules Gemini and it rules Virgo, and this is your 2nd house and your 5th house. So with Gemini, you might find that you're having fantasies about making money. Ooh, if I start this YouTube site where I make a different costume each month, that might get me, all these advertisers on YouTube, and then I could make this money and I could do it for a living, and you're fantasizing about making money in some way because 2nd house is money. It's the food, the clothing, the shelter that we need. It's the roof over our head. It's finding a sense of self-worth and self-value. And maybe it's validating for you to make a YouTube channel and it feels like it'd be very self-empowering. These kinds of fantasies. I'm tying these in for you guys. About creating this material stability and security in your life in some manner. And you might also then find that moves from, instead of just being a fantasy and a daydream, it morphs into an obsession. oh my God, I have to make this happen or else I'm going to be out on the street, if I don't make my YouTube channel, have 10,000 subscribers after 3 months, well, I'm doomed because I need that to be able to feed myself and obsess, spin your wheels about where the money's coming from, how you're going to make ends meet. Developing the resources that you need to support your journey can become an obsession instead of a daydream. So do be very careful of that. And of course, Mercury rules Virgo in your chart, your 5th house. You might be having daydreams and fantasies about lovers, about children, and about hobbies. All of this kind of ties in a bit, doesn't it? Fantasizing about hobbies that maybe can become a small business that can generate a lot of money for you. Hobby. So we can imagine what that's like. You're turning a hobby of being a seamstress into some sort of lucrative marketing, social media presence, some sort of idea in that regard. But 5th house is also children, so you might have a fantasy about, my kids. If I develop this business, then they could come and work for me. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? We'd have a family business, and so that might start out very nice, but it might actually then turn into an obsession. Kids, when you grow up, you're going to work for me, and then we'll all collaborate together, and we'll be a family unit. We'll tight knit and da da da. And the kids are like, no way, Mum, we don't want to work for you, So obsession can come out of that. That's not very helpful. Also regarding lovers too, which is a 5th house thing. So you might find you're obsessing about, working with your lover in some way, or maybe obsessing about, you might end up fantasy about a lover turns into obsession about a lover, and they're just like, hey, just back off, this is too much, too soon, slow down, kind of thing. Okay, so be very careful with that too if you're Taurus rising. All right, Gemini rising, just to move it along there. Gemini rising is putting the energy of Cancer into the 2nd house, and this is where we can have some fantasies on the 31st of July. So we might be, daydreaming about, well, if I made this money, then I could take my family for a holiday and we could go to the Amalfi Coast. Oh, wouldn't that be nice? A holiday at the Amalfi Coast. So okay. So you fantasize and you daydream, and it's lovely about the material resources that you need to enjoy your body's existence in this lifetime, having food, having shelter, having clothing. That's where your fantasies go, and having enough money to have a comfortable, safe, secure, happy life. And we all need material things. There's nothing wrong with fantasizing about that. We all need to have, the safety and security of having enough food, shelter, clothing, and pleasurable experiences don't go astray either. So we might be fantasizing about this on the 31st of July, but it can very quickly become an obsession on the 1st of August. So by the 1st of August, you might find that this fantasy about going to the Amalfi Coast because you've earned all this money becomes an obsession. And you're like, well, now I've got to work hard. I'm going to work, 24 hours a day so that I can make the money that I need. And I'll take and then, and you just go off the Richter scale, spinning your wheels with mental obsession and pinpointed focus on something. And everyone's just going, hey, slow down. You don't have to go to Amalfi Coast tomorrow. Take your time, the obsession can come out of the fantasy under this energy. So be wary of that, and it will have something to do with material acquisitions in life and development, collection of resources and amassment of resources. Also, Mercury in for Gemini rising people is the ruler of your 1st house and the ruler of your 4th house. So you might find that you're having fantasies about, well, how you might survive or thrive in the world, how you might show up in the world. This 1st house is very much about here I am in the world. And, you're having a fantasy about, well, if I want to go to the Amalfi Coast, I've got to find some way to survive. So obviously the way I'm making money right now is not enough. I've got to show up more. I've got to show up in the world more and, put myself out there. And how can I do that? How can I be present in the world more? How can I be seen? How can I be noticed? How can I, you might even, to flip it around a bit, you might have a fantasy about your image. And, what if I got my hair dyed blonde? Wouldn't that be kind of cool? That'd be fun for a change. So I could go blonde and then I could style it like this, and you have this fantasy about some sort of new image. And then on the day after, the obsession starts to kick in and you're getting obsessed and you're looking up photos everywhere on Pinterest and in magazines. Oh, blonde hair this, blonde hair that. Oh, obsess. And you kind of like, kids are like, Mom, just settle down. I keep using the mum example, don't I? Mum, just settle down. You don't have to get your hair dyed tomorrow. Think about it. Take some time. Breathe through this, Mum. Stop the obsession about what you're looking like and what your hair would look like blonde. That's just a fun example. Mercury also rules the fourth house, and it's in fourth house realms that you might be having fantasies that turn into obsessions. Pretty harmless in the fourth house. It's really only if the sixth house is getting a triggering, which it's not for you guys, that this could be a difficult energy, really. But in this case, fourth house, you might be fantasizing about doing some renos to your home or painting a wall a different color, or fantasizing about, oh, if I got a new couch or I got a new, TV set or something for my home. Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be nice. And you just have a daydream, have a fantasy about that. The following day, that energy of fantasy may very well turn into an obsession, and you're dragging the family round to all the furniture stores looking for that velvet couch that you want for the living room, and you're obsessed and you're just pinpointed focus, and the kids are like, oh, I'm sick of this, when can we go home? And you create sort of a challenging energy for yourself by being obsessed with something to do with fourth house things. Fourth house things are place of living, your heritage, your roots, your lineage. You might be obsessing about your heritage. You might be obsessing about reconnecting with your roots or reconnecting with your lineage in some way, and it's difficult to travel at the moment. So not everybody gets to, go home to Montenegro to see their family under the current restrictions that we've got in the world. So this obsession can come up that can be really frustrating for you under this energy. Also, watch out for very strong opinions coming from the maternal line. That's quite challenging with this placement. Mum sort of rings you up and gives you an earful of her opinion on something, and that can be like, exhausting. That can happen for you guys on this day as well. Now, Cancer rising people. Well, for you, this energy is falling for you in your house, in your sign. So the energy of Mercury and all its activation is centered around there. So you're going to have a lot of fantasies about the self, about how you're showing up in the world, how you're surviving, how you're thriving in the world. So this might look like, a fantasy about, different ways you could survive or thrive in the world. Maybe you have a fantasy about being a famous author, or maybe you have a fantasy about, being the next rock star, being on stage like Beyonce and having a massive crowd, and you have a fantasy about how you show up in the world and the experience you're having in the body. It is also an energy where you might be having a fantasy about your appearance, maybe, if I lost this weight off my body, wouldn't that be nice? Then all my old clothes would fit me again. And, fantasy, maybe if I dyed my hair a different color, and you go into fantasy land about things to do with the body, things to do with your body's health as well, as seen from the first house, and your ability to survive in the world and what that looks like, and the bodily experience that you're having in this lifetime. You start to fantasize about those things. Excuse me. But then very quickly we can see fantasies turn into obsessions the next day. Let's say you've had a fantasy about, looking thinner and slimmer and more gorgeous and fitting into your old clothes or something like that. And that then turns into an obsession with diet. Suddenly you don't eat anything all day, or you run 100 kilometers and you come home and have a heart attack because, my God, you're just not used to it. The fantasy can lead to an obsession and obsessive behaviors that can be very detrimental, especially in the realms of health. I also want to point out that, it can lead to obsession regarding appearance. Yes, obsession about how you're going through this bodily journey. So, you fantasize about being Beyonce, and by the next day you've gone and enrolled in some sort of pole dancing class or a a singing competition, going to enter America's Got Talent or The Voice or something like that, and the obsession turns into something just that you would never have done under other circumstances. Sorry, the fantasy turns into an obsession that you would never have done under other circumstances. So we can see that playing out. Sometimes that's like, yeah, so what? I go and do a pole dancing class so that I learn how to dance and move better or whatever, like Beyonce dances, and like, so what? Who cares? But sometimes when we're talking health and well-being, that can be detrimental if we let our obsession run away with ourselves. So be careful of that too. Now, for you guys, Mercury is the ruler of your 12th house, and it's the ruler of your 3rd house. So these realms can also be affected in a similar way. We might see this by, for example, 12th house energy. Might be lots of fantasies, lots of nighttime dreams as well. Not just talking about daydreams here, but nighttime dreams that happen for you guys under this energy on the 31st of July. That could be very, very nice. You might be fantasizing about, writing a new film. 12th house is film, and it's creative expression that's very illusionary, mystical, very romantic, and sort of out of this world almost. So you fantasize about, what? I'd love to write the next, trilogy like Lord of the Rings. And so, you daydream, what could that be like? And then, so to sum up in a nutshell, you get fantasies regarding creative expression, regarding your spiritual life, regarding maybe being able to travel overseas and sort of tap out and have a holiday and just sort of step back from the mainstream society for a bit. You have fantasies around those sorts of things on the 31st of July that quickly turn into obsessions on the 1st of August. And so you fantasized about writing the next Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the next day the family walks out and there they see Dad sitting in a Gandalf outfit because he's just become so obsessed. I'm going to write the next Lord of the Rings, and look, I'm Gandalf. And, he's typing away at the computer as he writes his next trilogy. And everybody's like, what the hell is wrong with Dad? Creative obsessions can come out under this energy, and also obsessions with spiritual practice, obsessions with going overseas and taking a holiday, and that can be what comes out of this energy. And we can also see the 3rd house getting activated. Now, you do have to be careful with this activation in the 3rd house, because it can see siblings, co-workers, relatives having some very strong opinions and forcing those strong opinions on you on the 1st of August or around the 1st of August. And you're just like, shut up, Be very careful. That can actually crop up. We can have fantasies about starting a new business. We can have fantasies about learning a new skill. We can have fantasies about, joining some sort of small network or group, or, like a small group sports club or something. Fantasies about those sorts of things that then turn into obsessions. And you had a fantasy about joining the local netball team, and the fantasy on the day after, on the 1st of August, turns into you ringing around every netball club in town to find out, do you have any room for me to join your club? And no, and you go to the next one, and it's almost obsessive looking for some sports club that's got space for you to join or something, or obsessive about starting a small business. You have some idea for a business that you could put out on Etsy, making something, maybe you do some fabulous wooden spoons that you create that are really exceptional, and you decide, I'm going to fantasize about making these wooden spoons and putting them on Etsy, and lo and behold, the next day you're so obsessed, there's wood shavings all over the floor, and things are just going crazy in your house because you just gone into this rabbit hole, this obsessive paranoid kind of pinpointed focus on making wooden spoons to sell on Etsy. Go figure. So there are a couple of the realms that can get very activated by this energy. So thanks for sticking with me, everybody. We're up to Leo now, and Leo rising or sun or moon is putting this energy into the 12th house. So it's in this realm that you can have a lot of fantasies, including daydreams and night dreams as well, under this energy that is the connection between Mercury and Neptune on the 31st. And so you might find that, you know, your night dreams are very vivid, very real, very like, ooh, that felt like it really happened kind of thing. You might find that you are fantasizing a lot about some form of creative expression, or fantasizing about making a trip, going overseas, going and immersing yourself in another culture because you're just sick of lockdown in the state of Victoria in Australia, and you're just getting the hell out of here, you know. You want to escape, you want to tap out of society and just remove yourself in some way. So obsessions around that sort of thing, not obsessions, fantasies around that sort of thing can be very predominant on the 31st of July. So tapping out, creative expression might be a source of fantasy. What else did we say? Spiritual activity might be a source of fantasy as well. But by the next day, the 1st of August, you might find that that fantasy has turned into some sort of obsession for you. And all you can think about is getting away from the COVID lockdown, getting away from, you know, the riots that have been occurring in your part of town or whatever, and you're like, I've got to get out of here, you know, I have to get away, you know, and you're obsessed. Not just for a holiday, you might, you know, do something really impulsive through obsession, like putting the house on the market, and just getting the hell out of wherever it is that you live. So do be very, very careful about that too, that the desire to get away and to escape can become very all-consuming on the 1st of August. You might, at a lighter sense, you might find that you are very consumed with or obsessed by some creative project, which might be a lot more pleasant to experience than the desperation to get away from things. So that could look like, you know, you've got an idea for a new film, or you've got an idea for some sort of a novel that you want to write or something, and so this creative expression that's coming through as a divine download through a fantasy on the 31st of July can turn into an absolute obsession on the 1st of August, you know, where I used the illustration when I was talking about Cancer rising of, you know, Dad wanting to write the next Lord of the Rings trilogy, and by the time the obsession energy kicks in, he's dressed like Gandalf, and the kids are going, what the heck is wrong with Dad? You know, obsession that we can see playing out. Now, so that's the energy of Mercury in the 12th house that might play out. Fantasy turns to obsession. We also see that Mercury is the ruler of the 11th house as well as the ruler of the 2nd. So it's in these realms that we might see that fantasy turn to obsession as well as or alternatively to the 12th house. So in this case, for the 2nd house, Virgo, ruled by Mercury. We might be obsessed with money. We might start out fantasizing about, oh, I could make money from my new Lord of the Rings style trilogy that I'm going to write, and I could make this money, and then we could buy this for the house, and then I could pay off the mortgage, and money, and resources for living, and things that we need to support our body's journey through life. You start fantasizing about, and by the next day, it's your obsession. You know, all you can think about is, you know, I'm going to pay off the mortgage. I'm going to write this trio of books, and it's going to be such a huge worldwide hit, and then I'll pay off the mortgage and we'll be debt free. Bonus money, and you go obsess about that. That can be actually very unhealthy, because what we really want is to find contentment and peace. So obsession is never going to allow us to find contentment and peace. So be very careful of going down that rabbit hole. The other thing that Mercury rules is the sign of Gemini, and that's your 11th house. So again, this ties into kind of the example I'm giving. Hopes, dreams, ambitions, goals can become very obsessive for you. They might start out as a fantasy one day and end up being an obsession for you the next day. Also, watch out, you guys, for strong opinions coming from your friends. This is the house of friendships and your friends, and when Pluto, Pluto making an opposition to Mercury, which rules the house of friendships, happens. When this occurs on the 1st of August, strong opinions abound. People who've got something to say, they're going to tell you, you need to hear this. Strong opinions that can be very difficult to deal with, that pop up on this day too. So do be very careful of that. All right. Finally, thanks for sticking with me, everybody. We are at Virgo rising. Virgo rising, thanks for hanging in there till last, Virgo peeps. Peeps, my kids will hate that. This energy of Mercury for you guys is sitting in the 11th house. And so it's this area that you're going to be fantasizing about on the 31st of July. Fantasies about your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. What do you want life to look like? How good could it be? And you'll be really enjoying the fantasy energy that comes about under that influence from Neptune on that day. You might be daydreaming about, connecting with friends, catching up with friends, having a tete-a-tete, because maybe like we are in the state of Australia that I live in, there's so many people in lockdown that haven't been able to connect with friends. And so you start fantasizing about having that coffee date and catching up with your social circle again. So these things can be sources of fantasy for you on the 31st of July, but by the 1st of August, this can actually morph into an obsession of some sort. So for example, you might find that you are suddenly, by the 1st of August, obsessed with catching up with your friends. And the fact that you're in lockdown or your friends are on the other side of the country and you haven't been able to see them becomes a source of tension for you and just anxiety that's low level sitting within you, causing you a lot of struggle. So that might happen where you've got this tenseness because you can't catch up with friends, or you can't fulfill the fantasy that you had straight away, and you become obsessed by that. When are we going to next catch up? What are we going? Or you become obsessed by your goals and your dreams and your visions to the point where you started out with a fantasy that, I don't know, maybe your goal is to run for president. Let's say, and you that's your goal, that's your dream, and you fantasize about, wouldn't it be nice, and I could run for president. And then by the next day, you've signed up, you've donated all your money to form this party or whatever you need to do to run for president, and you're into it, and you're looking for someone to manage your marketing, and you look at and it's gone down too far, like obsession, that you might look back and think, oh my God, that was crazy. What was I thinking? Fantasy turns into obsession by the 1st of August. Be very, very careful of that. So goals and dreams can be where your fantasies turn from that to obsessive sort of actions. Be very careful. Also, Libra rising people, strong opinions come out on this day, and it will be under this influence on the 1st of August from Pluto to Mercury, and you might receive some strong words from your friends. You might even have some strong words for your friends. This is the house of friends. That can be a bit sucky, to be honest, because nobody likes this sort of let me tell you what I think, and you need to hear this kind of energy. Nobody likes that. So do be careful about the strong opinions being forced on you by friends on this day that might be a bit uncomfortable. Now, for Virgo rising people, Mercury is also the ruler of their 10th house and their 1st house. So these realms also are going to be under the influence of firstly fantasy and then moving into obsession. What is 1st house? Body image, body health, how the body appears in the world. So you might decide you want to lose a bit of weight, or if I lost 5 kilos, then I would fit into that old dress of mine, and I could wear that to that party on the weekend. So I just got to lose 5 kilos this week, and you go from fantasy, wouldn't it be nice? I'd look great in that dress. That'd be fun, and it turns into an obsession by the 1st of August, and you're running 100 Ks every day trying to lose that weight, and you're not eating anything, and you suffer health problems from that. You have a heart attack, or you end up being put in hospital because you haven't eaten for 3 days in an attempt to obsessively lose weight for this party or whatever. 1st house is the body and the body's presentation to the world. You can become obsessive about that, or obsessive about your appearance in some way, also obsessive about how you're surviving and thriving in the world. So if you're Virgo rising, be very, very careful under that energy as well. But also you might fantasize a lot about 10th house things. What can you achieve in the world? What can you be known for? What legacy can you leave the world? And it's nice to fantasize about those things. When I'm gone, maybe I could leave a great body of artwork like Vincent van Gogh left, and wouldn't that be wonderful? And you daydream and you fantasize about that, and then by the day after, it's transformed into an obsession. And like Vincent van Gogh, you're painting in a fury. You're painting. I think he did 70 paintings in 70 days at one point. And your fantasy about what legacy could I leave, what worldly achievements can I bring to the world, and be known for, suddenly turns into some sort of crazy obsession, and you've got paint all over the house and there's canvases everywhere, and you know, your friends and your partner are like scratching their head, what are you doing, you know? So there can be obsessions that come out regarding that as well. Also, for you guys, watch out for strong opinions from bosses and authority figures that might really rub you the wrong way on the 1st of August under the energy of Pluto opposite Mercury, which rules your 10th house. So bosses might have a bit of a harsh word to say. You might have a harsh word to say to your boss that mightn't do you any favors. So be very, very cautious about how you speak on this day and how you communicate on this day, knowing that you're under a very intense energy. So guys, thanks for sticking with me. What a long astro report. I knew it was going to be. There's just so much going on in the skies this week. Look at this board. It's crisscrossed left, right, and center. Crazy, crazy. So let's close with a prayer for support for this crazy, crazy week. Energy of love in the universe. We just thank you that you're present with us, even through all this intensity. And you've been with us all through 2020, and we just ask for more support, more guidance, more light upon the path to show us which way to go, what steps to take, and how to make the most of these energies so that our souls grow, so that we release our karma, so that we improve the lives that we're living and the lives of everybody around us and bring blessing to the world. Guide us, show us the way, and lead us with love, so that we might pass that on to other people as well. And so it is. Well, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I'll have another Astro weather report for you all next week.